In this video, we will practice how to evaluate a piecewise function at various values of x. So it's all about knowing whether we're going to use the top function or the bottom function. And that depends on the condition. If for function f here, if the x value, the 2, the 7, the -4, if the x value is less than or equal to 0, then we'll use the top function. If the x value is greater than or equal to 0, greater than 0, then we'll use the bottom function. So look back. For problem number 1, am I using the top function, the top piece, or the bottom piece? All right, well, a value of 2, is 2 less than 0? No, it's greater than 0. That tells me that we're going to use the bottom function. Now, notice there are no x values to plug into. There's just a constant. And when there's just a constant, then that's the answer. So the answer to number 1 is 2. All right, let's move on to problem number 2. All right, problem number 2 also refers to function f. So let's stay with it. -4, is that less than or equal to 0? Why, yes it is. -4 is less than 0. So that tells us that we're going to use the top piece of the function. And since it's just a constant, the answer will simply be 3. All right? Number 3 is still using function f. But this time we're evaluating at 0. So, will we use the top function or the bottom function? Well, 0. 0 is equal to 0. So we will use the top function because we use this when we are dealing with numbers that are less than or equal to 0. So it's a constant, so we just put the constant 3. All right. Finally, for this function, we have 1/2. 1/2. So is that less than or equal to 0, or is it greater than 0? 1/2 is greater than 0. So we will be using the bottom piece of the function this time. So that's going to be, the answer is 2. Okay. Now, number 5, 6, 7, and 8 all pertain to function g. So how about the number 7? So will I be doing the top function, the top piece, or the bottom piece? Well, if I'm looking at the number 7, 7 is greater than 3, so that tells me we're going to be using the bottom piece of the function. So, since I'm doing the value of 7, that would be 2 times 7 minus 1. Well, that is 14 minus 1, and that is 13. So this would be 13. Now, how about 0? Zero is less than or equal to 3. So we will be using the top piece for 0. All right, so that means we will be doing 0 plus 5, which of course is just 5. Okay, how about -1? -1 is less than 3, so we will be doing the top piece. Okay, -1, so that makes this -1 plus 5, which equals 4. And finally, for this function, what about 3? Well, the number 3 is equal to 3. So we're going to use the top function. So x plus 5 becomes 3 plus 5, which equals 8. That's ugly. All right, I'm going to switch colors for the final function. Now we're doing function h. And for the first problem, we're going to do h at -4. So let's see. I'm going to use green. So -4, you say, right? So is -4 less than or equal to -2? Yes, it is. -4 is less than -2. So that means we'll be doing the top function. So if I put in -4, that means I'll have 1/2 times -4 minus 4. Half of -4 is -2. -2 minus 4 is -6. All right, what about -2? Well, -2 is equal to -2, so we're going to do the top function again. Half of -2 is -1. All right, and then -1 minus 4 is -5. So that's going to be the answer to number 10. Now number 11. Now we're doing h at -1. So let's see, -1. Is -1 less than -2? No. -1 is greater than -2. So that's why we're going to be using the bottom function. Okay, so -1. So that makes this become 3 minus 2 times -1. That's going to be 3 plus 2, which equals 5. Okay, because -2 times -1 is +2. So the answer is 5. Last one. Six. Is 6 less than or equal to -2? No. 6 is greater than -2. So once again, we will use the bottom piece. All right, if I substitute this in for x, that's 3 minus 2 times 6. That's 3 minus 12. That is -9. And that is how you evaluate piecewise functions.